my whole career has come from learning from CIA how to operationalize psychology. And operationalize is when you actually apply psychology to everyday situations. That's what it means to operationalize. So the fact that I got to learn that at CIA, the fact that I get to teach that now is just a humbling and awesome experience. There are so many things that I get to teach. I can't, I mean, some of my favorites have been some of the things that you talked about today, right? Perception versus perspective and the 4 motivators and the anatomy of fear. These are the 3 lives. These are some of my favorite of all. But there are other fantastic lessons that I love to teach. I love to teach people about the indoctrination process. I love to teach people about how to develop loyalty. I love to teach people about open and close-ended questions and how to control a conversation. There are so many skills that it's overwhelming to try to think about which one to teach next.
It's left. I'd love for you to talk about how to control a conversation and how to ask better questions. Because as a podcast host, I'm also curious.
Absolutely. You know, it's funny, Doug, because listening to some of your podcast interviews and being here with you now, it does give me a sense, like I would assess, not assume, but I would assess that it's not always easy for you to host a podcast, that it's actually it takes a bit of effort for you to come up with what questions you want to ask and making sure that the question that you're asking is relevant and congruous with the previous question that you just asked. How much of that assessment is accurate?
It's pretty accurate. Like I never like to phone it in, and I just care a lot about what I do. And I want to make sure that I'm asking questions that are kind of different, but that also are valuable to the people that are listening to or watching my show.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny because the only reason that I've been able to make that assessment at all is because we've been able to build a baseline during this time together. And I could build a baseline from watching your other interviews, right? So let's talk about controlling a conversation first, because controlling a conversation is very closely tied with asking effective questions or asking what you might call better questions. So controlling a conversation is first about understanding who's actually in control of a conversation. Most people think the person in control of a conversation is the person who talks the most. In reality, the person in control of a conversation is the person who asks the most questions. So in our interview together, Doug, who's in control of this conversation?
I am.
You are. That means that you can control what we talk about next. You can control how long the conversation lasts. You can control my energy level in this conversation because you control the questions. When you ask a question, you can decide whether that question takes us in a new direction, takes us deeper into the same direction, whether that question takes us in a direction where I am interested and excited, or whether it takes us into a direction where I'm less interested and maybe more mellow. So it's super important for anybody out there who wants to learn how to control a conversation. The secret sauce is talk less and ask more questions.
Freedom! So fresh on me. Freedom!